Hey guys, my name is Ali Al Kargouli. I'm a systems engineer and a postdoctoral fellow at the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can figure out why you're procrastinating specifically and how to put an end to that. So this video is going to be attacking the root cause of procrastination. And it's not going to be one of these cookie cutter, like, oh, 9 tips on how you can be more productive, or like 6 tips on how you can stop. Like, no, this is actually going to help you figure out what the hell is going on inside your brain. Now, to give you some insight, although I am currently working as a full-time engineer at NASA, I did my PhD when I was 26 years old. I have grown this YouTube channel as well as my other engineering YouTube channel to almost 40,000 subscribers. And I've always been a chronic procrastinator. I've struggled with procrastination my whole life, high school, college, even during my PhD. In the beginning of my PhD, especially, I would give my PhD advisor heart attacks. Not literal heart attacks, but I would make him panic because I would have to wait till the very last minute to do things. And when I came near graduation, I started realizing, like, man, why do I do this? Why do I do this? So I figured I would use my skills as a systems engineer to actually figure out what's going on, diagnose the problem, and that's the system that I'm going to walk you through. And by the end, not only am I going to show you how to diagnose the right cause of procrastination for you, but also what to do about it. So basically, before we talk about procrastination, which is basically like the hurdle to execution, execution is only the last step in a proper productivity system. Any type of productivity system, especially if you're someone who has ADHD or higher up on the ADHD spectrum, must give you clarity. You need to get crystal clear on what is your goal and why. If you don't have a goal, how are you going to be productive or not procrastinate? Because your brain is constantly going to be like, why are we doing this? What is this working towards? So you definitely need to have a clear goal. You definitely need to learn how to prioritize, how to pick what the right task is. You need to understand when to do the right task. And then finally, sitting down and doing it is going to be the part where humans tend to procrastinate, right? That's the execution. So there are two things that people struggle with: continuing and starting. Procrastination is really a problem of starting. So people who are procrastinating are really struggling with starting a task. And from my experience, that comes down to three different reasons. And you can, next time you procrastinate, you can ask yourself, like, which one of these three is it most likely? One is fear, right? Very often you'll notice that you're going to procrastinate on either a big project or something that's important or something that's very, very important. For example, not many people procrastinate on like walking to the fridge and picking up something to eat, or like going to the mail and grabbing your mail from the mailbox. These are things we don't really procrastinate on because they're not like really that important. They're things that are like automatic. We just do them. There's nothing really at stake. Something that you may procrastinate out of fear is like a project or like a YouTube video that you have to make, or like a presentation for your business or something like that. Something, or like a dissertation for a PhD, like things like that. There's definitely a lot of fear of like, oh man, what if I do it and it comes out to be not good enough? Very often there's internal self-talk around the fear, but there's also two other causes why procrastination may happen. One of them is simply the incongruence of interest and values. And I'll tell you a story. When I started my first consulting business, I hired a business coach who was very, very talented, very, very, very talented guy. I learned a lot from him. But when it came down to sit down and write my ads, my paid advertisements, um, we had to write them in a style that he told me, and it just I don't know, it didn't sit right with me. I didn't enjoy that style. I like to be more direct, more honest, more like, I have this thing, do you want it or not? The style in which the ads were supposed to be written is, and was kind of more like the very typical salesy, like markety ads, which I really cannot stand. And when he would check in with me and say, hey, did you have time to write the ads? I would always say, no, I haven't. No, I did this other thing. No, this other thing came up. I was procrastinating it. And it's not necessarily because I was fearing that the ads would not come out to be good. It's just because the way that task was set up, it did not align with my values. So I kept just putting it off. Very similarly, if it's something you're just not interested in doing at all, for example, if you're like a product engineer and you have to sit down and write copy for like an ad, you just don't really care that much about marketing usually. And because you don't care about it, you just keep putting it off because it's not fun. So this is another reason why you may be putting things off. But I would say, especially for people with ADHD, the most common one is just overwhelm, right? It's like, oh man, I have to start this big thing. I have to like sit down and do this thing. Oh my God, I have to work on this project. Like, it's just whenever you think of a task and like there's like a mini like, oh my God, like panic like that accompanies it, or like something of that nature, that's usually like your brain signaling that, okay, I have a big thing that I need to tackle, and I don't know if I'm quite ready to tackle it yet. This is where overwhelm can be a big problem. And this is, again, relevant for projects, sitting down, writing ad copy, doing things of that nature. So these are things that will definitely affect you when it comes to procrastinating. Now, very, very important heuristic you can perform is next time you find yourself procrastinating. Again, right here, we're not talking about solutions yet. We haven't addressed how to solve these problems in practical ways. But next time you sit down and you try to do something and you can't do it, instead of thinking, oh, I got to do this, why am I procrastinating? Shift the self-talk to just asking, what out of the three reasons, why am I procrastinating? Am I fearing that I might fail or the outcome may not be good enough? Am I just not interested, or this is something that I just like really, really don't want to do and I'm avoiding for some reason? Or am I overwhelmed? And by overwhelmed, like I haven't really fully thought through all the steps needed to like improve upon what I got to do and sit down and do it. And this is where I introduce you to the three different solutions. So the reason we touch on this again is because procrastination is not a one size fits all. You have to understand why you're procrastinating, right? Whether it's overwhelm, whether it's fear, whether it's like conflict of interest / values. Obviously, there could be other like minute, minuscule reasons, but I generally think, from my experience, those three are kind of like the 99% of procrastination. That's why I call this the procrastination trident, because very often in my case, it's one of these three things. So in the case of overwhelm, it is very, very simple. Think only of the first step, right? There's a very common mistake I see, especially with people who have ADHD, is when they think about what they gotta do, they say, oh, I gotta write a proposal. Oh, I gotta make a video. Oh, I gotta do all these things. But you don't actually need to do that. All you need to tell yourself is, what is the first step I gotta take? Like in my case, for a YouTube video, if I tell myself, oh my God, I need to sit down and record a YouTube video, like a neurotypical person, that may be fine with them. But someone higher up on the ADHD spectrum, you'll just keep putting it off, because especially if your brain has not processed like all the steps or visualized all the steps necessary, you're just going to put it off. But if instead you replace that self-talk and tell yourself, oh, I just got to sit down and write an outline for the video. I don't need to record the whole video. I just need to write an outline. What is the first step? Well, if I don't have an outline, then I don't have a video. And then you sit down and you write an outline, or you write the first part of the video, or you do something. And then that's going to give you the momentum to keep going. And then before you know it, you'll turn on the ring light, you'll start talking, you'll set up your microphone and whatnot. So if you're overwhelmed, think only of the first step that you got to take. That's basically the cure to that. If you are someone who is like having a conflict of interest or values, ask yourself, once you verified that this is something like that is congruent with your values, if it's something completely incongruent with your values, then maybe you should not do it. Like, sometimes procrastination is good. Sometimes procrastination is you like telling yourself, oh, I should not be doing this, right? Maybe this will put my like this is just something that I don't feel comfortable doing, right? But if it's the other case of which is fun, which is boredom, like the reason you're putting it off is because you get bored and you're just not interested in that thing, find ways to make it fun. And there are so many things in my life that I have to do that are just not fun. And my hack for that is music. I put on music that I really, really enjoy. For example, if I have to sit down and do paperwork, I can't stand paperwork. But if I put on like a really nice song that gets me in flow state and gets me kind of moving, whatnot, then all of a sudden the paperwork is not so bad, because I'm at least enjoying the music. Find whatever, maybe it's like having someone that you sit down and do the work with. Whatever it is that can make the task more fun will definitely help you solve the boredom or interest problem. In an ideal world, the things you don't want to do, you just delegate them. But if you're not at that stage yet, then you have to find a way to make it fun. And if the case is of procrastination is fear of failure, then what you need is something called V0. And this is something I have learned to do, which is I tell myself, okay, maybe there's a bit of fear. Maybe this thing needs to be good, and I'm afraid that it's not going to be good enough, right? Maybe there's a fear of failure there, or a fear of effort wasted. Oh man, what if I sit down and like do this and it turns out to be not good? That tends to be a very, very strong cause of procrastination. Something that I do is I say, well, before I even sit down and make a V1 or the first version of my thing, and then maybe iterate on it later, what I should do a V0. And V0 is like, let me just do a very quick check of like everything I need to do. For example, if I want to sit down and record a YouTube video, V1 would be make the first version of the video. And if it's crappy, that's fine. V2 can be a better one. V3 can be an even better one. I can iterate that way. But V0 is like, well, how about I just clean my room, turn some lights, turn the lights on, make sure my camera's in the right place, do a camera check, do a mic check, do a computer check. Like I'm not gonna actually record the real video, which means I'm not gonna fail. It's impossible for me to fail because I'm not gonna record the real video. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit down and do all the like steps, assuming that I'm gonna record and turn it on without actually posting it. And there's zero fear associated with that step. And it kind of feeds into this idea of first step is you want this thing to be like low stake, low consequence. Because then once I sit down and I clean my desk and then I clean my environment and I do all these things and I have my camera and I test my microphone, then again, from a self-talk perspective, it's a lot easier for me to say, oh, dude, I mean, okay, now I have the setup, whatnot. Is it really that bad? Screw it. Let me just record the video. Let's just see what happens. Like if it fails, it doesn't fail. Like sometimes the problem is not so much in the belief that the thing is going to fail and that you're going to be bad for having it fail, but rather that combined with the overwhelm induced in this case. So if you're someone who's like really sensing that the reason why you're procrastinating is fear of failure, and you're like afraid to get started on this task because it may not be good enough to your standards, tell yourself, okay, I'm not going to ship this thing. I'm not going to deliver this thing. I'm not actually going to, I'm just going to sit down and do the V0, like the bare minimum, just to get some type of functioning thing working, just so I can make some progress. And then if I feel like actually shipping it and continuing and shipping the thing that is done, I'll do it. If not, that's fine too. But what I'll have at least done is I've at least made some progress, which is going to make me feel good about myself, is going to boost my self-esteem. And the moment you like let go of this need to deliver something great on first try, you're going to feel this like weight lifted from your shoulders. And then you'll be able to get started with a V0, and the V0 will turn it into a V1, and the V1 is usually very often good enough to be shipped. If not, you go ahead and re-record it a second time, again, in the case of a YouTube video. So again, this kind of a very simple way to overcome it. Now, if you want to kind of amplify this on steroids, which is powerful also for continuing, is you can go and find some accountability. If you can find other people that basically bug you and ask you, hey, did you do the thing? Did you do the thing? Or maybe they can help you better diagnose why you're struggling with it, or why you're not doing the task. Accountability is very, very important from a friend, from a family member, from a certified coach, from someone who knows what they're doing. If you have like no one in your life that you think can hold you accountable on a consistent basis, I'm going to go ahead and put a link below to our community where you can come hang out with me, other like-minded entrepreneurs who can hold you accountable, where I also go over some of this stuff in detail as well. But you want to make sure that you have some type of accountability involved in your life, because if you don't have extrinsic accountability like at all, even if you're addressing the fear of failure, the like lack of having values and interests, and the overwhelm issues, you're still not going to have that extrinsic pressure, that like good weight on your shoulders to deliver, and that expectation of other people, especially if you're someone who has like people pleasing tendencies. And you can use that to your advantage, because then you don't want to disappoint other people. Well, at least you don't want to disappoint them in showing them that you haven't done your stuff, which can be productive for yourself. But anyway, that's a discussion for another video. If you enjoy this content, stick around for my channel for more videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace, love.